Hi, welcome back. I'm Tara Spiger. I help makers and artists build businesses they love, and right now I'm at home. So I'm participating in the stay-at-home reading rush, which starts today, the 16th, through I think the 19th. It is just a readathon where we try to read as much as possible over the next couple days. So the hosts of the readathon, Ariel and Rianne, created a tag to go along with it. So questions to answer to go along with the readathon. I'm going to share my TBR with you, which I have here, and also vlog for the next couple days what I'm reading and share that with you, put it all together and post it on Monday. You can hear my dog in the background. He's very interested in everyone who walks by. So let's get to these questions. The first question is, how is your reading going during this time of staying at home? And if you'd asked me this after the first 2 weeks, I would have said awful, horrible. I can't focus on anything except for scrolling on my phone. Around the 20th, 25th of March, my reading got better, and I read several books I ended up really loving at the end of the month in March, which I talked about in my March reading roundup, or I'll share the link below. Then in April, I've already read 3 books that I gave 5 stars, which is unbelievable. So it's been going pretty good. I have books that I got from my library, as you can see here, that I'm making my way through. The Owls Readathon started, which has like helped focus what I'm gonna read. Like, the flow of books has stayed in my life, which keeps me reading. That's one of my things I've talked about in posts about how to read more, or how I read so much in a year, is I have to always have a flow of new books into my life. And with the library closed, that's been hard, but that's improved my reading. So the next question is, what are the best books you've read while staying at home? And I already talked about Queenie and The Beautiful Mystery in my March video, which I'll link below. But the other book I've more recently read that I love, I gave 5 stars to The Most Fun We've Ever Had and to Writers and Lovers by Lily King. I think the best book overall has been The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. It's also got 5 stars. The difference with this book is never during reading it was I like, what's happening? I'm not interested. What's going on here? Whereas with both the other ones, they were amazing. I love how they ended. It was satisfying, but there were parts during it where I was like, I don't know. Do I want to read this? Am I interested in this? City We Became, interested the whole time. It's a super quick read. It's super like realistic sci-fi. The premise is cities become alive and develop a personality once they get a certain level of their own culture. And it develops their own culture, it becomes alive, and it gets a avatar, like a person who embodies the city. But New York City actually has 5 boroughs, and the 5 avatars for the boroughs have to come together, which is its own trouble, and fight off a new evil who is rising, who does not want cultures to mix, does not want people to like each other. It is an amazing metaphor and allegory, but also a super heart-pounding story the whole way. Lots of action and adventure. Actually, probably the most action-y book I've read in a really long time. It's just super fun. N.K. Jemisin's The City We Became. It just came out last month, so go buy it from your indie bookstore. They probably have it and are probably shipping still. So good. I read it on my Libby app, and I want to buy it now because I want us to have it, and I think Jay would really like reading it too. The next question is, what's your fave feel-good book? I really struggled with this because there's not a lot of books that I reread ever. So the best I can say is probably the Jane Austen books. Jane Austen is like, those are feel-good books. But then the other kind of, for me, what's feel-good books are the Louse Penny books. So this is next on my TBR to be read. So I think this is book 10. I've read the first 9, and this series is comforting in the way that if you find watching Bones or SVU comforting, that's how these books are comforting. So there is a crime. Inspector Gamache comes and solves it. Everyone is okay. The crime and violence is mostly off-page, so it's not very violent or splattery, but there is some peril that he goes through. He's like a very wonderful, thoughtful person. There's amazing descriptions of food. There's amazing description of nature and man's interaction with nature and people's interaction with each other and how a small community works. These books just always are like philosophical and moral, and there's beautiful descriptions of food, so they're very comforting, even though they're technically about a murder most of the time. These are a feel-good book for me. The Louse Penny Inspector Gamache series, any of them. The next question is, what book do you wish you could buy or get from the library? Now, I'm gonna be honest, I bought some books, all of these books. I've also been using the Libby app to get ebooks and audiobooks from my library. I'm using NetGalley and leaving reviews. That's how I got Writers and Lovers by Lily King and The Other Bennet Sister, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I have been getting new books. The next question is, what author do you want to shout out? I thought about this a lot, and I think N.K. Jemisin. You probably already know her, reader. Follow her on Twitter. She's very funny on Twitter. She is, I love her. Her book, The City We Became, was amazing. I have the first book in the Broken Earth trilogy that I've been meaning to read forever. Now is the time for me to read it. I expect to be reading it in May. I think we should all be reading her science fiction right now. The next question is, what is my TBR for the reading rush? There are prompts, which my books kind of fall into the prompts, but really I'm just going to read what I was already planning to read. The first book I'm actually currently in the middle of. I'm 20% into it. I'm reading it via a NetGalley. ARC was given to me, but just came out. But the date it came out here, so you can buy it now. But it's The Other Bennet Sister. It is the story of Mary Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, right? She is Elizabeth Bennet and Jane Bennet's sister, who in Pride and Prejudice is bookish and is always like preaching at everybody. But this book looks at it from her perspective, what it is like to be the not pretty sister amongst beauties, to be the not charming, giggly sister amongst sisters who are like, all except for Jane, like outgoing and witty and fun, like Lydia and Kitty. Well, it's easy to see the love story in those stories, but what about poor Mary, who like only has her books? She has the ridicule of everyone in her family. She's like the sister that everybody ignores. What's up with her? So part one, which I just finished, was almost like scene for scene of Pride and Prejudice, and some of the characters say the same things they say in Pride and Prejudice. It's just Mary overhears them, but you also see what she's thinking about. She's good friends with the housekeeper. She's even better friends with Charlotte than Lizzie is. And so her and Charlotte have some private conversations. Then, right after Mr. Collins and Charlotte get married, part two starts, and part two skips ahead 2 years. So everything in Pride and Prejudice has already happened. Her sisters are happily married. Spoiler alert for a 200-year-old book. And she's got to find her place in the world now because she's more grown up. And it's so weird because it feels very much like Pride and Prejudice in the tone and even the language. It's a little bit not as dense and old-fashioned as Jane Austen is, but still manages to keep the language really similar, which is interesting. I'm loving it so far. There's a prompt to read a book in the same room the whole time. I'm reading it on my Kindle because I got it from NetGalley. I try not to take my Kindle into the room at night because the screen will like keep me and Jay awake. So I will be reading it in my living room. So I don't know how many books I'm going to be able to get read in 4 days. It might just be the Bennet sister, the other Bennet sister, but if I get more done, this is like the dream TBR if I read a book a day, which we'll see. Book that has a house on the cover is another prompt. For that, I want to read Louse Penny's A Long Way Home. This is actually a reflection in a lake, because oh look, there's a home. Plus, it's got the word home right in the title. For the prompt, read a book of a place you want to visit. I picked some place way closer to home that we visit pretty regularly during the summer, and usually in May or June we make our first trip there. That's Charleston. So the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires is set in Charleston. This book is like a Buffy meets Stepford Wives book club. It's technically a horror book. It's like a horror comedy book, not normally what I read, but I picked this book for the Read Harder Challenge to read a horror book by an indie press. It's published by Quirk, so we're gonna see. I think I'm gonna love it. So this might also fit the prompt, a book that will make you smile. I think it'll make me smile, so we will see. I will be back to tell you how things went and how I liked those books. I would love to know what you're reading. What is the best book you've read recently? Tell me below. I can't wait to hear it. It will talk to you soon. Have a fabulous weekend and stay home and stay safe.